Hi, everyone. It is so great to be here, as I've said a million times. Our theme, again, is to create a better world. And you're going to hear a lot about that theme from us. You know, as a matter of fact, if you wanted to find out more about that, you could go to abetterworldcrowdfunding.com, check it out. Every one of us has got dreams. Every one of us has got ideas, aspirations. And if you don't have that, you probably have some kind of need. The question is, what action are you willing to take? How much are you willing to put forth in giving? Well, you know, I'm sitting here with Tammy Littlejohn, and somebody that is giving. Why? Because some of us are just called to do that. Tammy, thank you for joining me here today. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
I was really touched by what you all are doing across the aisle, as we like to say, and I've never seen it here before. I so believe that we are in dire straits around mental stability and illness in this country. I don't really know how to talk about it. You know, what do you think, and what motivated you to set up this particular forum? It's brilliant, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. Here at the Women of Wisdom Conference, we will be talking about lots of in-depth issues among ourselves. It's certainly a personal journey for the women that are here. And at some point, we may tap into something that is more in depth or maybe just be a struggle. And so we decided that as counselors, we would volunteer and be here to offer support for the women here to process issues that may come up and then to refer them to resources after the conference is over. And so that's what our purpose is here at the conference, and to be a part of that.
Well, you're absolutely right. Every time I've participated in workshops or have done an event like this where I actually wasn't working and was actually part of the conference, I was always struck by what would go on inside of me. You know, what would come up, and how great it is that you're providing an out place for people to come to process that. What about your journey that got you going in the direction you're in?
So I am from North Carolina.
I could tell that.
My southern accent.
My
That's right.
My stepmom is too.
Yes.
So, I picked it up right away.
Yes.
In a minute, both of us are going to be having that southern accent. It doesn't take me much at all.
You pick up on that.
Yep.
So I moved here a year ago, and I was a therapist in North Carolina, and I'm a certified grief counselor. And what I know, and I work with families and children around grief issues, and what I know is that often what happens for us is really attached to a loss.
Yeah.
It may be a move, which I've just been through.
Right.
It may be a job change.
Right.
A divorce, a loss of a loved one, a loss of a pet. All of those losses are very real for us.
Yes.
And attached to us in different ways. And so for someone to process through that and be aware of that, oh, what happened to me really is a big deal. Don't just, you know, we're trained to really just kind of push through it.
We are, aren't we? We really are. You know, my generation comes from, you know, the idea of just suck it up. You know, just suck it up, march forward, you know, do things that, you know, we don't have time to stop to think about it. And I think it's catching up with us as a society in so many ways, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. In everything from as what they were talking about earlier with nutrition.
Yes.
To your relationships.
Right.
And your ability to connect. That is so true, because a lot of times you're suffering in isolation.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to talk about that ugly loss, or the funeral is over and they don't want to, you know, they've issued condolences, they've done some things to help a person at the moment, but that pain goes on.
You know, it's so interesting we're talking about this, because one of the things I've been struck by is, you know, my best friend's here, my friend since 1973. And I wonder if we would have grown up in an age of social media, if we'd still be friends. There's so many opportunities for miscommunication or hurting somebody's feelings. I worry about that for our young people.
Well, I do know that...
And older people that are doing it, not just the young people. It's everybody that's trying to build a friendship on Facebook.
Well, and a text message can be so short and appear so blunt.
I know.
That your true love and compassion, it's hard to put that through in a text message.
It is. And you know, I did this the other day. I was texting something, and you know how the words come up where they replace the word? You start to type a word. I did that the other day, and I didn't go back and proofread it. Complete different message that you're sending to people. I wanted to ask you about, you know, what your thoughts are about the state of affairs in terms of people's mental balance. You know, we hear about shootings. We're hearing about, you know, people losing their jobs and not knowing where to go. Do you think that we're in a place now where people are ready to say, you know what, I need a little help here?
And it's interesting you ask that because I have only lived on the East Coast, only lived really in North Carolina. So I have perhaps a skewed view. However, what I do know is that more companies that people work for understand. So we've got that aspect where employers are supporting mental health benefits.
Right.
Churches, which is an arena that I worked in, is offering counseling services. So the more it's available, the more it's accepted, and people aren't ashamed to say, I'm going to counseling.
Right.
People aren't ashamed to say, you know, I think you need to talk to a professional about that.
That's right.
That issue is really huge and bigger than I as your friend can help. So I think you should reach out and find a resource. I think it's becoming a broader, accepted, sometimes expected mode of helping and healing.
Yeah, you know, I want to ask you a little bit of kind of same topic, but a little different topic. You know, about what, 5 years ago, the term bullying really got brought to the forefront. And we've had many, many forms of bullying that have shown up. Unfortunately, our youngsters really get hit hard about the bullying thing. Yet at the same time, what's going on in the workplace is really kind of horrific and strange. Are you finding that people are willing to talk about bullying, or is it another one of these things, you should just suck it up and move beyond it?
So I work with children, so I work with parents, and I do parent education as well around this. But then also in the workplace, it's a matter of two things. One, learning coping strategy. Two, helping people to understand that if you're being bullied, that bully is the person with the problem. And that is the most powerful, whether you're 85, 55, 45, or 10, for you to remember that the person that is bullying has the problem. It doesn't make it any easier to have to deal and interact with that person. But there's a sense of strength to know that, okay, this is their problem. It's not me. So then you don't have to listen and you don't internalize what they're saying to you. And it doesn't have to define you.
You know, one of the things I think that shocked us all here recently was the death of Robin Williams. And it really, I did a show on this, and what I said was, I tried to find public service announcements on depression, and I couldn't find any. And then there were a few after his passing, after his death. There were a few about bipolar disorder, Glenn Close, of course, you know, out there. And then it went away, as if that incident never happened, as if depression isn't a real thing now. And that bothers me. That bothers me. And I wanted to ask you about that. Statistics say we're more depressed now than we've ever been. And I just want to know from your point of view what we can do about it.
Well, awareness is certainly key. Acceptance is really important. To be educated and recognize if in fact you're depressed or someone you care for is depressed. And connectedness, that goes back to staying connected. If you haven't heard from a loved one in a week and you typically heard from them, reach out. You know, connectedness also means reaching out, and to not assume that a person is not suffering from depression. And there's different levels of depression. But if you don't take care of the base level depression, it can manifest into something more serious. So people really need to pay attention to their mental health and to support those around them.
Right.
And if they have been diagnosed, whatever mode of treatment they choose, you need to be supportive of that and to encourage that continuing conversation for themselves, and to know that speaking, nutrition, your whole body, spirituality, all those aspects need to be treated to prevent depression.
So I want to ask you one last question, and please let folks know the best way to find out more about you. You know, when you think about yourself and the journey you're on, you know, what do you think about in terms of your own role in creating a better world?
Well, I think for me to use my own story as an example, to be open to that, to know that, you know, learn from my mistakes, and also to know that there is a better world there. You have to believe that it's always going to be a better day.
And you share your story with people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a part of who I am.
Would you like to tell our listeners about it?
Sure. So the biggest part I'll focus on, I just moved from North Carolina, as I stated, at age 50, and grew up in North Carolina, lived in North Carolina, practiced in North Carolina, so I closed my business and followed my husband, which as a woman I would have never done. I would, you know, that was not a part of who I was.
Right.
And I did that, and it's been an incredible journey to get to meet new people,
Yes.
but to stay connected to the folks that I love so dearly at home.
Yep. And that home cooking.
Oh, yeah, fried chicken. Yeah, macaroni and cheese. But yeah, so leaving all of that was hard, but what I do know is that that's a part of my story. And even going back into my health issues, I've had cancer and Hodgkin's lymphoma, and cured from that, and very proud of that. And to know that all those things are grief-related issues, a move, leaving my mom, who I adore, and all those family members. To heal from cancer is a gain and a loss, because you have to make sure it doesn't become your identity.
Right.
And these people all center around you and cheer you on, and you get better. And they admire that, and it's really, for me, it wasn't anything to be admired.
Right.
It was really just what I was going to do. So there was a loss because your identity changes.
Yes.
So I adopted a son, never had my own children, suffered 7 miscarriages, which is tremendous loss. And so all of those experiences made me aware that loss is very different. It's not just when someone dies.
Right.
And that there's a lot of strength to be gained from that, and it doesn't have to define you in a negative way. And I hope that story can help other people.
I appreciate you sharing it, because, you know, when I talk about, and I've just recently started talking about my own journey, losing my mother, suicide at age 6, and then my sister, my stepmother, I mean, the losses just pile up. And, you know, thinking about how I dealt with those things, or rather not dealt with them, and the accumulation, as you said, does ultimately show up in the body, doesn't it?
Oh,
At least for me it did.
Absolutely.
Me it did.
Absolutely.
What would you like to say to folks to help them create a bit of joy? And thank you for joining me here today. Let folks know how they can find out more about you as well.
Thank you. My website is TammyLittlejohn.com, and that's evolving.
All right.
And I just think it's important to stay connected to people you love.
Yep.
And to find new people to love. I think it's continuing, and not to close yourself off to new experiences. And that is a way to experience joy.
Wow. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you.
It's
for
great to
having me.
meet you.
Yeah, great to
All
meet you too.
right.
Thank you.